advising writers, if you want a publishing deal, do you maybe go for a massive, one of the big five publishers or one of their imprints, and be a small cog in a giant machine and have to conform to producing what fits their genre range?
Or do you get acquired by me and put in a cupboard?
Yes.
Hello and welcome to a special episode of Beneath the Page, the podcast about books and the writers behind them. Normally we have two presenters, myself and Sophie. Today you've just got me presenting for reasons which will become apparent very soon. And also today we have two guests joining us. The first one, Gary.dalkin, is an editor, not a writer. He's spent more than 30 years working as an editor and has a whole wealth of experience that he's going to be sharing with us. And our second guest is our very own Sophie Beal. So, Sophie, welcome to the podcast in a different role.
It's just like being at home.
Funnily enough. Now, the reason why we're doing this episode slightly different is because today Sophie is going to be lifting the lid on Cadence Publishing, the small press publishing company that she runs, telling us a little bit more about what it is, why it is, and how she came to be running it. Lots of the guests that we've had on Beneath the Page will come on and tell us how from when they were very small, they loved the idea of writing books and they wanted to be an author. Surely, when you were a small child, it wasn't your dream to be a publisher, was it?
No.
So what happened there then? How did this come about?
So I was writing and I was interested in getting my book published, and in the process of that I did an awful lot of research.
Yeah.
To get published, you need to fit a very specific market, and that the only way to do anything that's slightly
outside
of the norm is to go through a small publisher, or to be such a genius and have already written a work of great fiction that people will take a punt on you. My writing buddy and I, Rachel Tiernison, we thought, blow this, and we started thinking about publishing our own work. Now, interestingly enough, neither of us are going to have been or will be published by Cadence, but it was the genesis of the idea of Cadence, and we realized what a good job we could do for relatively little money publishing other people's work.
Now, Gary, you've got a long history of working with Sophie on various projects before Cadence came about. Can you tell us a bit about those?
I guess it was about 2012. We met Sophie. We met at the church we were both going to at the time. I think it was my wife said that found someone who's actually interested in books and writing and whatever, and you should meet her. And so we met. We got talking. We started a writing group that for years met in this room where we're sitting right now.
Yes.
And then I got a garden office and we started meeting in there. The pandemic came along. The last year we did it on Zoom, and the very last one, nobody but me turned up. Even Sophie didn't bother. So I thought, okay, that's the end of that.
And you took that as a hint?
Well, yeah. Before, nobody liked Zoom, did they? It was terrible. No. But also before that, we did podcasts. Yeah. We did a couple of podcasts together. We did a writing workshop that we did one year, again through the church that we were going to at the time, and various other things, what else? And then eventually also the Bournemouth Writing Festival came along. We got involved in that, but that's to go a little bit ahead of the story at the moment.
Yes.
But yes, one day in the early days of the pandemic, I think about August, Sophie sent me an email and saying about thinking about starting this publishing company.
And what is your role in Cadence?
Well, I've been called various things, but I think
I bet you have.
Exactly. I think I'm the senior associate editor, which means that I'm not officially part of the company, but that Sophie asked me to look at various things
Right.
and see would this work for Cadence. But also Sophie then wanted me to do some editorial work on the actual manuscripts.
Right.
Yes. So I think it's just basically that we're financially separate, but I would see Gary as very much part of Cadence. It's just that he isn't an official member of staff.
Yes.
I think that's the only real separation.
I'd say that it's the same as with other clients in a way. I'm freelance effectively.
Right.
Yes.
That
Yes.
a lot of what I do for Cadence isn't paid in a sense. It's advisory or whatever, and it's because I support the ethos of what
Yes.
Sophie's trying to do
Should
here.
we call you an editor at large? Is that what an editor at large does?
Could be.
Yes.
Yeah.
You heard it here first. Breaking news.
And then sometimes, I guess Sophie's my client or whatever.
Yes.
Because she's actually paying me to edit.
So a lot of advisory stuff around the edges that isn't necessarily paid, but when it's the hard tax of editing,
because we had to sort of work that out, because before that I was editing Sophie's books as well that she's still working on.
Yes.
And at first I basically said no. I turned it down as a client and said I'm not going to do that, because basically I know Sophie at one point had some feedback. First time she got feedback and reacted not very well to it.
I was a bit sensitive to it. But now I realise she was just telling me the truth.
And I thought, well, I don't want to fall out over this. As friends are harder to come by than clients.
Yeah.
Yes.
So you don't want to fall out. So basically I said, no, I'm not going to edit your book because you'll hate me, because I will have to tell you the truth. Because
I'll tell you what's
the whole
wrong
point.
with it.
I mean, no, if you're paying someone to edit your book, then you're paying for them to tell you the truth, which is also why I often say to people, don't get your family or friends to do this, because they only want to please you. They don't want to hurt you or fall out with you. Or if they don't mind hurting you and upsetting you, they haven't got the skills.
Yeah. And at the risk of sounding like this is turning into a paid advert for Gary, I have heard people who've been edited by Gary saying that you're actually really constructive with your feedback.
Amazing, actually.
And give a lot of positives as well as pointing out what's wrong and needs to be changed.
I mean, and I think it is about getting to that stage where people have enough experience to us. It is not personal.
Yeah.
That it is literally about trying to make the book as good as it possibly can be. And that involves pointing out what is wrong with it at the moment.
Yes.
But also you're very good at telling me and the authors what's right as well. You start off with what's right. And by the time you start breaking the bad news about what you need to change, your ego is sufficiently inflated to be able to cope.
To work out how to do this. And as an ex-teacher, and there is a lot in common with editing and teaching. Again, you're instructing the writer on how to make it better. Yeah. And as a teacher, you want to encourage first. So you have to say all the good things that the child has done. And then you say, but this is where you need to improve. But you've got to give some encouragement. Otherwise, people don't just hear, they think I'm rubbish. They think I'm no good at this. So I would always set out what's good, what's working well. Of course, also, you don't want the client to go ahead and change that.
Yes.
You say, no, these are the bits that are good.
Yes.
And then you say, but this maybe needs some more work, and maybe you would think about cutting this and whatever. But also, and I think this is crucial, and I've heard some editors aren't so hot on doing this, explaining why. It's not just like, this doesn't work, and like, go and figure it out for yourself. No, never say, I think you should do this, because it's always the author's book. But have you thought, I mean, I don't know, could you just change it all around? Could you move that? And so that's happened earlier. Or could they be related to each other in some, or whatever it might be? Just all sorts of ideas that the writer's maybe not thought of.
Yeah. And what is a Cadence book? I mean, what's the difference between when you get a submission saying, yes, this is really good, but it's not quite us, and this is really good, and we're going to do this one?
Well, that has changed recently. It's got more specific, but I'll get into that later. The most important thing is that it's written with a Christian ethos.
Right. Do you want to explain what you mean by that?
It's very difficult to explain what you mean by it, but I think essentially we want to bring Christian voices into the mainstream. Primarily historical fiction now.
Yeah. Although the first publication wasn't historical fiction, but now that's a new direction.
Yes. Because you'll understand this, because this is the podcast we do is all about how you can tell a lot about who somebody is by what they write.
Yes.
And so it's founded with the belief that being a Christian, you might not be writing about Christian Christianity, but it does affect the way you write because it affects the way you see the world.
Yes, as you said, all writers of any faith or none, something of that happens in their writing. We can't help but have who we are and what our values are come out in our writing.
No. So most Christian writers get funneled down one of two routes. They either end up having to sort of dilute their Christian beliefs to fit into a secular market, or they have to write a Christian book about Christianity where everybody is Christians. And what I wanted to do was I wanted to be able to go into Waterstones and read an excellent book by somebody with a similar worldview to mine.
I also think the other side of that's really important is, again, going to Waterstones and buy it. It should be that anybody can go into it and pick it up and not necessarily know that Cadence is a Christian company, not know that the writer's a Christian, and just pick it up and it's going to be a really good book and they'll enjoy it. It's not about preaching. It's not about trying to force Christianity down anyone's throat.
There might not be any Christianity actually in the book.
Not explicitly at all. I mean, I suppose an example like that, and again, this isn't what Cadence will be doing because it's historical fiction, but you wouldn't necessarily pick up Lord of the Rings and think this is going to be a Christian lecture at you, because it just wasn't.
Yes.
Whereas maybe C.S. Lewis in the Narnia books was a little bit preachy.
Yeah.
But it's that sort of thing. It's like, again, you could pick this book up, not know it's anything to do with Christianity. It's just the underlying value system, I guess.
Yes.
And something of what we believe
comes through
in the broadest sense comes through whether
absolutely.
we're talking about faith or not.
It's just about having integrity.
Yeah.
And because I think all writers, regardless of what their faith is, should have integrity.
Yes.
And they shouldn't write things that they shouldn't write things that they should write from their heart and not from their head going, well, this will sell.
Yeah.
Or this will get a publisher.
Yeah, I think it's about, we want to do is be as good as it possibly can be, that good enough isn't going to be good enough for us.
Yes.
Right.
We want it to be as good as it can possibly be. So that people remember it. It's not just another book that they read.
Now, Cadence's first book will already be familiar to many of our viewers because we featured it in episode 3 of the podcast, Sue Barrow's Sold, which we talked about there. And if you haven't seen that episode, once you finish this one, do check it out because there's lots of good stuff and it's a great book. But how did Sold come to be your first title for Cadence?
Well, Sue Barrow, the author, she was the first properly published author I knew. And I knew her before I started writing myself. And she encouraged me in the early days. But we kept in touch and we kept in touch over the years. And I knew she was writing a really interesting book about child trafficking. It's a YA thriller about child trafficking. So the idea is that it's introducing pretty harrowing facts to teenagers and adults, but doing it in an entertaining way. So they're not feeling preached at, but they're actually entertained.
Yes.
It's a gripping thriller.
It's a gripping thriller.
It's a very good book, and if people want to check out more about it, once they finish watching this podcast, go and watch episode 3 and get the book.
But we would feel remiss, wouldn't we, Gary, if we didn't mention that The Guardian liked it.
The Guardian liked it. The Guardian said that it was compulsively readable, harrowing but hopeful, and the School Library Association made it their editor's pick for 13 to 16-year-olds in the summer that it came out.
So
they said it was
the critically acclaimed novel.
Yes.
They said it was the most gripping book, I think, or compelling book they'd seen in a long time.
Yes.
Can't remember the exact quote. We also got...
I bet Sophie can.
Yes. Share this with every young person you know.
There we go.
Yeah. And then it got chosen for the Read for Empathy collection for 2024.
Yes.
There's about 60 books get picked every year. Got high praise from writers such as...
Miriam Halami.
Sue, sorry, this is all going completely astray now.
That's all right.
Yeah, we got some really high praise from Jane Johnson and Cherith Baldry, who is one half of the Warrior Cats team, writes those. So yeah, we got some really good reviews for a first book. It
was very encouraging.
It
really
really
encouraging.
was, yeah.
Since Sold, you've had a bit of a rethink about Cadence's direction. You've refocused what you're wanting to do. Can you tell us a bit about that?
Yes, that's come in the last year.
So tell us about that.
I'm passionate about Cadence, but for it to survive, it needs to focus. Actually, it was doing this podcast that really, which has only been going for about a year. Early on, do you remember we had, she says as if you didn't, we had Kathleen McGill.
Yes.
We had Janet Hancock and Steve Couch.
No, I'm Steve Couch.
Oh, sorry.
We had Steve Cox.
We had Steve Cox.
Do you want to do that bit again, or do you want to leave that in?
It reminded me how much I enjoyed historical fiction, but also I was going, oh, I know how to sell historical fiction. You go on about the history. Cadence is a member of the Independent Publishers Guild, and I had some mentoring through that. And working with my mentor, we decided this was a good idea to niche down.
And that brings us on to the next book in the Cadence stable, which is going to be released in the next couple of months, I think. When is the publication date?
April the 2nd.
April the 2nd.
Just in case you're watching this in the future, 2026.
And that is a book called Clouds Over Bowland by Rosemary Sturge. And Sophie, is there the world exclusive cover reveal?
This is the official cover reveal. You're the first to see it. Well, other than my friends. To be honest, I've shown the cover to my friends more often than I've shown them pictures of my own children recently. I love it. The cover is by Charlotte Mounsey, who happens to live basically around the corner from where it's set, which was very exciting. But yes.
And where is it set?
It's called Clouds Over Bowland. It's set in the Forest of Bowland, which is just on the border, just in Lancashire, but just on the border of Cumbria. So.
Okay, and obviously we're going to have Rosemary on the podcast at some point in the coming weeks to talk about the book, and she'll go into it in a lot more depth. But briefly, can you give us an idea of what Clouds Over Bowland is about?
I'm going to need Gary's help with this, but
that's what editors are for.
It's always difficult to sum up something in something
without giving away spoilers.
Without giving away spoilers, and also when you're talking about a 80 to 90,000 word book, to try and sum it up in a few sentences. But it's set in the Napoleonic Wars. A young land agent arrives in a remote English valley, trying to escape his troubled past. It's a
bitterly cold winter.
I can relate to that.
Yes. I put the heating on.
Yeah, isolated, very rural sort of farming community. There are a lot of Quaker families, each with their farms in the area. And he finds himself gradually drawn towards one of these families. And there's a bit of a mystery element, and it's not a mystery novel. But early on, he comes across a dead body. And there is an element of who was that body? Why was he there in this field in the middle of winter? And there are two sisters in this family. And there is an element of romance again, but I wouldn't say it's a romance novel.
No.
But there are a lot of elements. There's social drama. There's elements to do with the fact that there were French prisoners of war being kept in, let's say, not ideal conditions. Right. So there's a sort of an element of social concern as well. Yeah. And there are a lot of elements. You'd say it's a drama. You wouldn't say it's one type of.
So there's a lot of different things going on.
There's a lot going on in
that
there,
will appeal, we hope,
to people who like historical fiction.
Yes, and who want to immerse themselves in a world that they probably aren't that familiar with.
I mean, I didn't know anything about that sort of world or time or what life would have been like.
Yes.
And it does really draw you in and paints a vivid portrait of life in 1814 in northwest England.
And the characters are particularly good.
Characters are good. The dialogue.
Yeah.
They talk like real people and intelligent people.
Well,
having interesting things to say.
Now, Gary, I don't know if you're going to feel able to answer this question on the grounds of professional ethics, but from an editor's perspective, what was your experience of working on Clouds over Bowland? How was it for you? How was it for you?
Go into specifics, as you say, because partly because that involved talking about the plot, but I mean, in what happens, Sophie arrange a time to work on it. Sophie sends me the manuscript, and then I write my notes up, my report on it. It's quite a detailed report, and then there's a lot of back and forth between us. We'll talk sometimes.
And was your feedback being ferried via Sophie, or were you dealing directly with yours?
A bit of both.
A bit of both, mainly with Sophie, because sometimes I would find things that Sophie hadn't noticed, or certain elements that kept recurring, say, and then we'd talk back and forth.
Do I have a problem? Do I have the same problem with it now? It's been pointed out.
Yeah.
And one of the most annoying things about Gary is generally he creates problems for me. I won't have noticed something until he points it out, and when he has pointed it out,
you then can't unsee it.
Yes, I can't unsee it, and other people don't notice it, but it's there for me to notice.
I mean, that's the whole point of editing. Is like,
he's very good.
I think there's a thing that people think. I mean, if you see a film, it says the name of the editor on there, right close to the director, isn't it? It's one of the big credits. With books, people often don't have a clue. Yeah. They think that authors are geniuses who just sit down and write, and it's perfectly formed, and then they put it in the envelope, or they send it off to their editor. They send it off to the publishing company, and it gets printed.
Yeah. Rosemary and Sue both sent their books in a pretty good state.
Yes.
Otherwise, I wouldn't have been able to accept them.
But you still edited them.
But I still basically, yes.
Yeah, there's always more editing.
There's always more. So before I sent it to Gary, I worked on both books for a couple of years. I am intending to speed up, but there were things that just hadn't noticed, because you get too close. You get far too close. Far too close to it.
Yeah, and then it comes to me, and I can say, but why does this happen, or this doesn't go anywhere? Because part of story is, it's not just things happening; they have to have consequences.
Yes. And we're talking about who we're going to acquire next,
right.
who our next author is going to be.
I know that is the language of the industry, but it does sound very sinister.
It does, doesn't it?
When you go, who are we going to acquire?
Okay.
Well, Sophie has, I'll let you into a trade secret here. She has a cupboard. You see that door over there? There is a cupboard, and there are authors in there. They have a different door. You open the door, and there's different authors in there, all lined up.
But
and just waiting to bring them out.
Viewers,
yes. But we'll feed you if you write us another book.
I'm now thinking about involving Gary at the beginning of the process, if I only have so much money for him to...
This is the unfortunate thing, that unfortunately places charge money for things, and so I have to charge Sophie.
He's very good. He's not extortionate in any way. I don't feel exploited in any way.
And do you feel exploited in any way, Gary?
No.
Oh, okay. But a chance to stir it a bit there.
But nevertheless, I have to pay him. So I've been thinking, actually, it's so annoying when he points out things I should have noticed. I might bring him in earlier.
Can I put that on the top of my website? He's so annoying.
And I believe that both of you, the two of you together, have got a couple of events coming up in the next couple of months. Could you tell us about those?
Yeah, well, we start with the first thing we've got coming up is a thing called an author's perspective. And
now that's part of author events, which is
author events.
Which
Alex Stone, who's best-selling psychological thriller author who lives locally here in Bournemouth. And she's created this, I guess you call it a platform. It's a website, but there's a blog, but mainly it's a series of events, most of them at the moment in the Bournemouth area. There are gradually expanding around the country as well. There are things like author meetups where just writers can get together. But a recent project of hers, and we meet in the really nice Royal Bath Hotel in the middle of town.
Yes.
And it's called An Author's Perspective. Meets once a month on a Saturday morning, and a writer or an editor or a publisher gives a talk or a workshop giving some sort of insight into the publishing industry. And we're going to be doing one on the 28th of March, inside a small press, passion versus profit.
Yes.
And we're going to be talking about advising writers, if you want a publishing deal, do you maybe go for a massive, one of the big five publishers or one of their imprints and be a small cog in a giant machine and have to conform to producing what fits their genre range?
Or do you get acquired by me and put in a cupboard?
Yes. Or we say...
It's sounding like a tough choice.
No, there are many small presses, in hundreds, probably thousands of small presses around the country and even around the world. And if you want to do something very specific, I mean, you might be better looking for a small press that fits exactly your vision. And then that's where the passion come in. If the publisher is on the same wavelength as you, really get what you're doing, they might have the money and the resources, but if they love what you're doing, then they'll really get behind it. And whereas, I mean, a big five publisher maybe just aren't going to be interested. It's just not going to fit what they want. So we're going to be talking about the two different sides of that: what we do, why we do it, why we're passionate about what we're doing here, but also saying, like, what do you want out of your career?
Are you trying to write something that doesn't fit in and you don't want to compromise?
So it's helping people to be aware of the options, and better place to judge what route they want to go.
Yeah.
And the last 2 years at the Bournemouth Writing Festival, you've done a workshop or a talk together, and I believe you are on again this year, for the third
Organising
year.
Chaos.
Tell us about that.
Well, okay. Well, this is it's basically I learnt last year. It's a fireside chat that Gary and I have, and basically it's us sort of bickering.
We don't bicker.
I find that hard to believe.
Bickering our way through some slides, but talking about the psychology of taming that messy first draft, the practicalities of it, giving lots of sort of hacks and tips.
The subtitle will probably help explain it.
Yes.
Organising Chaos, turn a messy draft into a publishable novel.
Yes.
So the idea is that I think people start out, they write a book, they write a manuscript, and then they get maybe a bit disappointed and stuck.
It is the great myth that people have, that the first draft is the finished draft.
Yes. There's another it's a sort of associated myth that if your novel needs editing, you're a bad writer. That if it hasn't come out perfectly and big five, Penguin, Random House ready, that there's something wrong with you and that you should give up. But basically, you've probably not got a bad novel. You've just got a novel that hasn't been edited well enough yet.
All writing is rewriting. I've said this many times. My favourite Hemingway adage that all first drafts are rubbish, although he didn't say rubbish.
No.
And that's okay, because their job is just to exist, to give you something to work
exactly.
on.
You need a blob to
So
mould.
What we do is in an hour we talk people through that and try to assure them that they're not a terrible writer. I mean, they might be a terrible writer, but we hope they're not.
Although the nice thing about doing that presentation is you're saying that to them having not actually seen.
Yeah, exactly. So we don't know. So I mean, if there is a room with 100 or 200 people sitting there, then
the chances are there's going to be some geniuses and some people who should probably do something else.
But we don't know who's who. And the idea is that we're giving all the guidance and tips we can to how they can progress that to the point where it is going to be worth their while and ready to send it. Because people will want to send things to an agent or a publisher too soon. So where it is worth them spending the time and money and effort.
It's a talk for people who are who would like to look towards publication,
and
who are at the early stages of that journey, rather than for writers who are 1, 2, 3 or more books deep
know all the process, and a more.
Although you were very kind and you spent money coming to it.
I went to it last year, and I thoroughly enjoyed it.
Published 2 books. On your third.
So we've been at the festival every year, and the second year we did the first Organising Chaos, and it sold out. So it was really fantastic that we got invited back to do it again, and we got put in a theatre 3 times the size, and it didn't sell out, but it did turn out to be the single best-selling daytime event of the festival.
So
so we're back again,
and it I mean, I think
with inflated egos.
Yes, absolutely.
That's because the point of the festival is it's meeting the needs of writers.
Yes, absolutely.
And that meets a very real need for writers at that stage in their journey.
And we decided that basically we weren't going to call it anything different because organising chaos, it does what it says on the tin.
Yeah, and that is what we seem to spend a lot of our time trying to do. As anyone who saw this morning, trying to set up for
you said
this recording. The organising chaos does fit quite nice.
And you've got a workshop as well at the festival, haven't you?
Yes, I have. I'm doing a workshop at 12 o'clock on the Sunday of the festival. And the title of the workshop is Going Up, How to Craft an Elevator Pitch That Really Works. And for anyone who doesn't know, an elevator pitch is such a vital tool for an author in selling their book. It's the thing that catches people's imagination in a brief, concise way. And it's the difference between a polite end to the conversation and someone being really interested. And my first book, Dead Man Singing, I stumbled across, if I say it myself, an absolute killer elevator pitch.
I don't think I've come across a better elevator pitch than that.
See, this is why I like Sophie. But my second book, Foul and Fair, I had an elevator pitch that worked with some people, mainly football fans, really responded well to the elevator pitch, and non-football fans thought that's not a book for me. But it's not a football book. And actually, in terms of putting the workshop together, I found I learned more from the failed elevator pitch for Foul and Fair and reworking it and working out why it wasn't
than the one you lucked out
than
on.
from the one that went really well.
Yeah.
And the aim of the workshop is going to be really practical, and I want people to walk out feeling confident that they can describe their books in a short, pithy way that actually hooks interest and gets people interested in the books.
And they might even have an elevator pitch.
Yes, they will certainly have had an opportunity to craft one for whatever their work in progress is. Whether they finished it or not, they'll probably have a start of one that needs more polish later. But yeah, practical and giving people tools is what the workshop's about. This is usually the point where we give our guests the chance to share their website addresses and their social media presence. But Sophie, we have that with you linked to the show notes on every single episode. So I'm going to ignore you for a moment. And Gary, you do a lot of work away from Cadence. Where can people find you online and find out more about what you do?
Website is tothelastword.com, and you can find out all sorts of things about me on there. There's pages about my work with the Bournemouth Writing Festival, with Cadence, and about organising chaos specifically. And there's also about how to contact me and my editorial services and what I've done in the past, who I've worked with, various bits and pieces, and a blog. Or you can email me at gary.dalkin@live.co.uk.
Well, that's it. Thank you, both of you. Thank you, Gary, for coming and joining us. And thank you, Sophie, for switching sides. And thank you for watching. I hope you're still enjoying the podcast. If you are, please let us know. Give us comments on whatever platform that you're watching on. Like, subscribe.
5-star reviews.
5-star reviews
on,
are always
on
welcome.
Spotify and places like that, particularly helpful.
But most of all, if you like the sound of the books we're talking about, do check out the books and enjoy reading. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Gary, thank you for joining us on the podcast. And Sophie, thank you for shifting your role on the podcast and telling us
It's not
all
my
about
seat.
Cadence.
I think I'm in the same seat as usual.
Yes. Gary and I have swapped in the normal lineup, but normal service will be resumed very soon. Yeah. Thank you for watching. As ever, please tell people about the podcast if you've enjoyed it. Please tell the internet about it by liking and by following us, and please keep reading. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye.